There are lots of headlines today that we're watching carefully. First time filings for unemployment insurance hit 3.84 million last week, as expected. The economic anguish in America continues. Although they're saying the worst appears to be in the past. They were looking for 3.5 million, so it's a little bit higher than they had thought. The rolling 6-week total is over 30 million Americans. This is part of the worst employment crisis in the entire history of the United States. There's some promising news about vaccines. Apparently, there is a vaccine in the works that might be in the offing as early as the fall. Fauci talks about January, who knows? And of course, all throughout the country, there are conflicts between businesses that are trying to stay afloat and state governments that are ordering them shut down. In California, the governor opened the beaches, took one look at the pictures of people on the beaches, shut them back down again. Here in Florida, they're going to start opening the beaches. Could that happen all around the country? That parks and beaches and places that are expected to follow social distancing guidelines are they going to be re-shut down under this fear that there could be an unmanageable spike of coronavirus illnesses and deaths? We are navigating this, as my dear friend Mark Davis in Dallas-Fort Worth always says, the days take a long time, but the weeks are flying by. It feels like just a minute ago it was Friday. Now tomorrow will be Friday, the first day of May. And a lot of these state orders are all over the map. Perhaps no place in America is this conflict between a business owner desperately trying to survive and the tough, long arm of the government squaring off any better than the case in Dallas of the hair salon owner, a woman by the name of Shelly Luther, who is risking her license, maybe even her freedom, by trying to keep her hair salon, her business, Salon A La Mode, open. Now, I mentioned Mark Davis. I played the clip yesterday of Mark taunting and mocking me and ridiculing the way listeners came after me when I gently said, maybe we should wear a mask as we reopen. And Mark did a very funny riff on imaginary colors, which actually sounded very real, over what a panty waist I am and what a baby I am for wearing a mask. Mark, of course, is one of the most well-respected talk show hosts in America, and that's not overstating that. He has entertained and informed Texas audiences for many years. He has all of the top Texas newsmakers and newsbreakers on his show, and I'm very, very pleased to know that over the last few years he has become one of my closest friends. He's been following this Salon A La Mode case very carefully and has interviewed Shelly Luther many times. So we want to welcome Mark Davis to my show because I always join him in the mornings. Now it's your turn to join me.
I get the Steve Miller Jungle Love Newsmaker line thing. What an honor. That's incredible. Thank you.
Only for the biggest guests. Only for the top names.
Yeah.
Introduce Shelly Luther to the country, Mark.
Well, she was introduced to me not even a week ago. Now I have family members I don't talk to as often as I do her because she is the main story. She is walking the point as a symbol of a business that a week ago didn't know when it was going to be able to open. Now there is a foggy kind of notion of when her business, the hair salon business, will be smiled on by Governor Abbott. And let's rest assured that in conservative circles, Governor Abbott remains a hero. Are there people who have said, well, why can't we be like Brian Kemp of Georgia? Well, they can get a difference of opinion on that. But thank God we're not in Michigan or something, or California or something like that. So it's all generally good with Governor Abbott. But there's been some pushback from people saying, what's the deal with salons? I mean, they're regulated. They have to adhere to some higher bar of cleanliness and propriety. And shouldn't that put them on the magical list of people allowed to actually make a living? And if that's my point conceptually, it is definitely Shelly Luther's point because it is her business. And the people who cut hair in her salon need this to eat and feed their families. So her position has been, Mike, I'm not closing.
Wow.
Cease and desist letter from local county judge Clay Jenkins. I'm not closing. A restraining order from a local judge. Her position, I'm not closing. Talked to her this morning. She is open for business. And the
Wow.
question each day is, will they come banging on the glass and stuff her in the back of a cop car?
I mean, Mark, I saw the video last night of the police officer serving her with the temporary restraining order, surrounded by a throng of TV cameras. It was a whole media event. And obviously, uh, uh, by the way, they don't just
Lost
show
you.
up
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
accidentally. They don't just show
Correct.
up mysteriously. They were there following this to chronicle the embarrassing. I mean, that to me is such a terrible feeling to know that you're sort of on the wrong side of the law ostensibly, but is she? Is she literally violating the law by staying open?
Well, of course she is. And that's kind of the point. And there are a couple of conversations that this gives a spark to, which makes it just talk show gold. But we really got to realize we're talking about people's lives here. So here's how I'll couch it. Is she on the wrong side of the law? Yes. The law says that local authorities can declare crises and do all kinds of restrictive things in view of those crises. Count me among those who feel that this is overreach, but that's just a conversation between people about what we think basic rights are. No judge is going to come in and magically rescue her from this. It's up to us. It's up to the public to make clear to elected officials that this will not stand without some degree of pushback from us.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we're in a conservative state with a conservative governor, but Dallas County is a total blue enclave. And most people in Dallas County are probably fine with Judge Jenkins putting the clamp down on her. So here's the question. We're watching TV all the time. Is it a good idea or a bad idea to have the imagery of local officials dragging this woman off to prison?
Oh
I
no.
mean, I continue to believe that's not good optics, especially since it seems like it's going to be resolved maybe within a couple of weeks. I asked her, by the way, since resolution seems to be at hand, why not go ahead and play along? Wrong question. She said, listen, if I close for 1 hour, if
That
I
sounds like
close
me
for
saying
1 minute of 1 hour,
that's like me saying, why don't we wear a mask? There, go ahead, Mark. Good question.
exactly. Exactly. I was like, yeah, Mark, what's the matter with you? I thought you loved the Constitution. Yeah, so it's the thing. So she said, my position 24/7, every minute has to be that I have the right to be open. And I'm not
Wow.
shrinking from that one
She's got to
iota.
be.
And so,
She's got to be
so I
one
continue to
gutsy
believe.
lady. She's got to be one tough cookie.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. And so, but it's funny because I told her, I said, don't you think they probably don't want to have that kind of spectacle? And she said her attorney gets a vibe at the courthouse that there's power tripping about to happen and that what they actually do want the video of her being arrested just to show everybody who's boss.
Yep, send a message. Make an example of her. Mark Davis is our guest. He's the morning host on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas, Fort Worth. Again, one of the most highly respected hosts in the country. Mark, you've talked to her a lot. Is she nervous or afraid about winding up in jail?
If she is, she gives off no inclination of that at all. She has to be. Nobody wants to go to prison. There are those who've said, Shelly might be kind of enjoying this a little bit. She's kind of flamboyant and she went to very publicly to a rally up in Frisco, northeast of Dallas, and ripped up the restraining order, took the whole thing up in front of that crowd and went, here's what I think of the restraining order. But listen, to whatever degree that she is being showy about this, it is about the cause. She deeply believes that she and her fraternity sorority of salon owners deserve to be open, and that's what the fight is about. And her quote is, I will stay open as long as I am able.
What a story. I want to ask you before you go about a huge explosive story that was revealed yesterday, and it's been lost in the shuffle of all the coronavirus news and the states starting to reopen. And of course, it's the kind of political bombshell that CNN or MSNBC won't touch. Fox News, of course, is all over it. Explosive new internal FBI documents unsealed yesterday show that top FBI officials discussed their motivations for interviewing the then National Security Advisor, General Mike Flynn, in the White House in January of 2017. And they openly questioned in handwritten notes, do we get him to lie so we can prosecute him or get him fired? What's the goal here? Tell the truth or lie so we can. It appears very clearly that the FBI, one of their goals was to get him fired or prosecuted. Mark Davis, this is a huge, huge story. Mike Flynn appears to have been set up and absolutely railroaded by these guys. Is there going to be any accountability for the people that made this happen? They ruined his life.
The the short, okay, it depends on how one defines accountability. Are heavy iron doors going to slam behind the people who did this? Probably not. Sometimes accountability exists, once again, in the political vein. Here comes a possible full pardon, so there's some vindication. But then you go to the old, remember, Labor Secretary Ray Donovan. What office do I go to get my reputation back?
Right, where do I go to get my reputation back?
History will... Exactly right. So a Trump reelection is vindication. Mike Flynn being able to escape this predatory prosecution is vindication. And just reputationally, this is everything about Comey and McCabe and other people in this coven, Clapper and all those. It just once again hardens the history of the deep state and the level of scoundrel actions and behaviors and attitudes that have surrounded this president since the inauguration.
A friend of mine, calls this really one of the biggest stories of the year for anybody who's been following the whole Russia gate and the way the deep state went after members of the Trump administration. The Obama administration had no love lost for General Flynn, no question. In fact, they recommended against the Trump administration hiring him. A 2018 video, Mark, this was townhall.com pointed this out, of former FBI Director Comey is circulating again after this bombshell document has been released. In the clip, MSNBC's Nicole Wallace asks Comey who went around protocol to send FBI agents directly into the White House to interview.
Of course.
And Comey says, I sent them, something I probably wouldn't have done and maybe gotten away with in a more organized investigation. He explained if the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself, you would work through the White House counsel. And then when asked why he bypassed that process, Comey said, I thought it's early enough. Let's just send a couple of guys over. Do you think Jim County is going to...
A couple of guys.
A couple of guys. You think Jim Comey is going to have any accountability for this egregious action?
No. Maybe I'm cynical, but no. Not in terms of what we might want, like prosecution of this kind of malfeasance.
Right,
but Comey will go down in history as a failed weasel. And I continue to believe, even with this story, that the FBI is a magnificent place filled with magnificent people. It's the leadership that was a problem. Once you purge those snakes, the FBI can regain its reputation. And Michael Flynn is owed 1 million apologies from 1 million people. Will they be forthcoming? Probably not, but I hope the vindication for him is sweet nonetheless.
Well, and in General Flynn's case, history will show he lost his house, he lost his career, he lost his reputation. He was utterly destroyed by these apparent zealots. Mark Davis, morning host, 660 AM The Answer. It's great having you on my show for a change.
I love you, man. It's awesome.
I love you.
Let's get used to
Thank
this.
you,
I'm
Mark.
available anytime.
You got me too. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in my kitchen, I think, for the rest of my life.